Good Saturday to you, everyone, in COM 831. Welcome to a short video to give you some feedback on part one of your papers. Hmm. Okay. So all of your papers were graded. All of the papers that I received are graded. There are some of you that have not turned in part one. Now, unless you, make arrangements with me, um, I can't I can't give you full points for these, but let's talk about the matter. But there are, let me see real quick here. There's one, two, three folks that have yet to turn in papers. All right, maybe I'll send an email to you. Get on that. Okay, for everybody else, let me give you some feedback, some sort of big picture feedback as we move into modular week. All right, so we don't have readings assigned for this week. You're not going to have questions. Use this week to spend time with the feedback that I've given you on your papers. Use this week to complete, your technology assignment. All right. And, take a little bit of a breather, and we'll get back to it on the other side of Monday. Okay. So, point number one that I want to give to you. If you have a, if I write on there, let's talk, or I don't think I'm going to say, we need to talk, because it's not like you go into the principal's office. If I say, let's talk, that means I need you to get in touch with me. Now, for everybody, if you have any questions about what I said, what I wrote, the feedback, as to the wheres and whys, and you want to get in touch with me, great. That option is open to you, but I'm not asking you to. Okay. But so if you have a note that says, I'd like to connect with you, or why don't we connect? I need you to reach out and get in touch with me. Now, I will be available during modular week on every day except Monday, October the 20th. I'm going to be out of the office on that day, but the Tuesday through, Friday, my schedule is open and fairly flexible. So please get in touch with me. Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, you need to have citations. Even when you write an introduction, I mean, if you tell me something has gone up, something has gone down, this is more important than ever. And by the way, well, I'll get to that in the second point. Okay, how do we know this? You need to have evidentiary citations. Remember to use scholarly sources, blogs. The blogs are not scholarly evidence. That doesn't mean that blogs and magazines and things don't have a place in doing research. Things that you find on a blog, things that you might find in a news article. This is an indication that someone is paying attention to something, but it's not necessarily evidence that that thing is influencing other things. It just means that some folks are giving it a heads up. Now, depending on where it's published, and if you have some sort of a evidentiary indicator as to how it's been read, how many times you get it retweeted, or the video was watched, or whatever, then you can say, there seems to be a number of people that are reading this thing. So this is something that the market is aware of, that the audience is aware of. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a causal agent in making something go up and down. Okay, so learn to distinguish between the two, not just in academic papers, but especially in strategic communication. All right, so you need citations, and I think almost everybody heard that from me a whole bunch of stuff, or a whole bunch of times. Citation, citation, citation. All right, that's the second thing after get in touch with me. Third, look, academic writing, and I mean, this term academic writing or research writing, this will apply to a lot of spaces that you might write in, not just in class. If you go to work for a government agency, you may produce a white paper. If you go to work for a company, you may produce a market summation. Okay. Um, your space is at a premium when you're writing in an academic paper or in these other constrained forms. It's like a tweet. What should we say now? An X or something? Anyhow, okay. Get to the point. Some of you, I may have written something like, um, avoid the sort of the sky is blue and the cows go moo type of introduction. That is, there are 2 or 3 paragraphs in which you discuss what we really already know. Social media gets used a lot. Stuff like that. Get rid of it. All right. Your space is at a premium when you're writing these papers. It's okay to go right to the point. All right. Next thing I want to bring to your attention, the point. Because it's okay to go right to the point, get to the point. ASAP. This paper is going to then give us the questions that the hypothesis that you're going to test, the questions that you're going to seek to answer. Tell us a little bit about how it is you're going about it. And then if you want to, and you probably will, expand on why this question is important. What are the larger ramifications, answering this question or testing this hypothesis? Yeah, great. That's fine. That's fine. But get to it right away. Okay. And next, in terms of getting to it right away, be careful of your terminology. Be careful to give off the sense that the field that you're writing about. Not necessarily you're an expert. I mean, that's part of what you're doing in class, but you've spent time researching the fundamentals of this topic, and you can indicate that how things are defined. And I'm not picking on anybody here. So if you hear things that are part of the comments that I've made on your paper, I'm not singling you out. All right. But for instance, if you're going to write about fake news, okay, what are the accepted definitions? And when we say accepted definitions within an academic context, we don't mean whatever definitions that we, just as the writer, want to think up and say, well, oh, this is what I think it means. No. What's the established meaning amongst other writers? I mean, academics will spend just as much time debating what something means, that is, what does it mean when we say fake news, as they will debating whether that something actually exists. Is there evidence of the thing? You might say, well, it's just so dumb. Of course there is. That's the point of academics. It's investigation, 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 tireless investigation. So as part of the investigation, no, you don't have to be super expert, but do enough reading on the front end that you can sound like you know what you're talking about. So familiarize yourself with the terminology of the thing that you want to get right to the point to when you investigate. Okay, and in that same sort of context, tighten your research focus. I mean, just be very plain and straightforward. If you say this is going to be a qualitative, I'm going to use a qualitative research methodology. Okay, what does that mean? Because there are a lot of things that fit underneath that definition of qualitative research methodology. Historical critical, in which you're just looking at documents, past sources, things that other people have published, or primary source documents. You could be doing a content analysis. And if you're going to do a content analysis, be specific about what you're analyzing for the content and what content of the thing that you're analyzing. Because if you say, I'm going to analyze the content of retweets. Okay, that's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that gets retweeted. Retweets about what? And if you are going to adopt a particular methodology, this is back to the last point, make sure that you understand the terminology and things that are expected to be disclosed and discussed that go along with that methodology. So if you say, a number of you said, I'm going to do a content analysis. Okay, how are you going to code the content? What are you going to use for the coding? Are you just using your old noggin? are you going to use the software? And if so, which one? And if so, how? Why are you looking at these particular sources? How many samples? Not, well, I'm taking 10 from here and 10 from here and 10 from there. Okay, great. But why? Why just 10, 10, and 10 from, here, here, here? Let's just say, I mean, this is hypothetical, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Okay, why those? Is that where the information tends to live that might answer the question that you posed? Okay, say so. Right, so be more tightly focused and specific in your methodology. And then lastly, and these are general points. All right, when you're constructing an annotated bibliography, remember what I told you, both in the instructional sheet and in the video. An annotated bibliography is mostly for you. An annotated bibliography gives you a summation, a summary understanding of the source. One of the most important things concerning a source, well, when you're looking at it, and because you may read a lot of things in terms of sources, all right, and you just kind of decide, okay, which one of all of these different articles that I've looked at am I going to use? Okay, in your discussion as to what the authors were up to, the main focus of your description. Now remember, doing this serves you. The main focus of your description is the data. Now, if you come across a source that does not disclose to you, in clear language, what data they used and what they did with it, snap that one. That's out. Okay, because that's just sloppy methodology. But for anything else, and this was, and I put this on the instructional sheet, and this was lacking from almost everybody's annotated bibliography. Focus on the data. Ask, what data did these researchers gather? Where did they get it? How did they get it? How do they analyze it? What conclusions did they draw from it? And are those conclusions supported by the data? So if you have somebody that surveys, like 20 people, and then they draw a certain conclusion and they say, let's say it's, I'll just use the same example that I just used, not picking on anybody. Let's say it's fake news. And you survey 20 people about what's real and fake news. And they look at a particular tweet or particular image and go, yeah, that's fake. And then you as a researcher says, well, see, look, clearly people think that this is fake and this is not. 20 people is not people. It's not everybody. 20 people is 20 people. That's too small of a sample of people to support a generalization to the rest of the population. So look at the data that the researchers are using. Where do they get it? Okay, what are the sources? Because maybe they're looking in the wrong place. How do they get it? What do they do with it? Do they analyze it well? And what kind of tests did they run using it? Okay, what kind of conclusions did they draw? And are those conclusions supported by the data? That is, have they overdrawn the conclusions based on the data? That's the most important element of a source to you as a researcher. Because if someone hasn't handled their data well, I mean, I'm a pretty good wordsmith, and I can write persuasive and convincingly. Doesn't mean that what I write is grounded in the data. Okay, and writers of all stripes tend to be opinionated individuals. I don't know if the story is true or not, so it may be apocryphal. But there's a story about the great American writer Ernest Hemingway. And if you've never read any of his stuff, I would recommend read The Sun Also Rises and understand that it's the use of language that is one of the main purposes of the book. The use of language becomes in itself an element, you might even say character of the book, because some people read that book and they go, yeah, I didn't get it. It's just a lot of people talking. That's the point. It was written, during a time in which literary work was focusing on use of the language in ways that it was sort of coming into its own in terms of descriptive language about settings and surroundings, dialogues about the interior state of characters, what they were thinking and feeling, these sorts of things. But it's good writing. So read The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. So Ernest Hemingway is said to have said that when people ask him, would you read this for me and tell me what you think? They wanted his feedback. And he would say, I'm not going to read it because I'll hate it. And the prospective person would say, well, how do you know that you're going to hate it before you read it? And Hemingway is said to have responded, well, if I read it and I don't like it, I'm going to hate it. If I read it and I don't like it, and if I read it and I do like it, I'm going to hate it because I didn't write it. Writers are opinionated. You can't judge the veracity of a source by the fervor with which the author puts the arguments forward, because we're all opinionated as writers. You're opinionated, I'm opinionated. Look to the data. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Again, if you have a note on there, please reach out to me by email. Sunday, I try to stay out of the office on Sabbath. So if you don't hear back from me Sunday, not to worry. You can hear that rumbling. It's really raining like crazy here. I'll be back and looking at email Monday night. So if you have something, if you want to, like a Tuesday, Wednesday, or something like that, Wednesday, Thursday would be great. We can talk then. Okay. And remember, I'm here to help you. Okay, everybody, have a great weekend. I'm thinking about you. I'm praying about you. And I will see you on Canvas after Modular Week. Bye-bye.